Miller in the shotgun. Gets free on the edge. Braxton Miller is loose. Spin move. Miller headed for the end zone. You think he's made an impact in his first game at H-back? Wow.
If you watch football in the 2010s, you already know the clip. Braxton Miller, Virginia Tech, spin move, touchdown. That isn't just a cool highlight. That might be one of the cleanest spin moves we've ever seen before. Here's the crazy part. That play felt like the start of a whole new chapter for Braxton. And instead, it kind of ended up being one of the last big moments that people remember of him. So the question is simple. What really happened to Braxton Miller? Before we even get to the NFL stuff, you got to understand how important Braxton Miller was at Ohio State. Of course, we're going back to a time where NIL didn't run college football and college football players couldn't frankly do whatever the hell they wanted. Ohio State had just been hit with massive NCAA sanctions after Tattoo-gate in 2010. And frankly, I think this one's a little bit too strict and kind of dumb of how big of a suspension and sanctions they got. If you don't already know, this is where 5 players were suspended for trading memorabilia, including Big Ten championship rings for free tattoos. It happened under legendary Buckeyes head coach Jim Tressel, where he was found to have hidden this information, leading to his resignation, vacated wins for the 2010 season, and a bowl ban. The players who got in trouble for this were Terrell Pryor, DeVere Posey, Mike Adams, Solomon Thomas, and Boom Herron, which they were all suspended for the first 5 games of the 2011 season. This also vacated Ohio State's 12-win season from 2010 and had a bowl ban all the way to 2012. So of course, a program that just got hit with all these massive NCAA sanctions of course led to mass exodus from the Buckeyes program, because imagine you're one of these players on this football team who's done everything right, and 5 dudes go ahead and mess it up for everybody. You have no chance at going to the playoffs. You just can't, and you can't go to a bowl game. There's no point in really competing for anything because you can't even go there. So a program that normally wins 10-11 games a year fell all the way to 6 wins in 2011. That's when Braxton Miller stepped in as a true freshman. He didn't just walk into a powerhouse, he helped rebuild one. Then 2012 hits, Ohio State goes undefeated. Problem is, because of sanctions, they couldn't go to a bowl game. No Big Ten title game, no national title shot, nothing. They go undefeated, and it basically doesn't even count in terms of postseason. 2013, undefeated regular season again. That is now 24 straight wins between 2012 and 2013, with Braxton leading the team. He took a program coming off sanctions and pulled them right back to national relevance, which is kind of insane when you look at it, because a program that took this big of a hit from sanctions really rubbed it off like nothing ever happened, and they were right back to where they've always been. And during that stretch of the 2012-2013 season, he racked up these awards: 2-time Big Ten MVP, 2-time Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year, 2-time Big Ten Quarterback of the Year, Freshman of the Year, first team All Big Ten, second team All-American. He was 5th in the Heisman voting in 2012 and 9th in 2013. Braxton was the face of this rebuild. He was the engine of the offense, the reason Ohio State got back to being Ohio State. Everything was set up for Braxton's one last run. Then 2014 happened. 2014 was supposed to be Braxton's year. Instead, he tears his labrum from a non-contact routine passing drill before the season and misses the entire year. And while he's out, Ohio State goes on one of the wildest runs ever in college football. The backup JT Barrett takes over for the entirety of the regular season. And now JT Barrett gets hurt late in the year. They're down to their 3rd string quarterback. Cardale Jones steps in. They beat Alabama. They beat Oregon. They're national champions. So think about that for a second. The guy who carried Ohio State through sanctions, helped bring them back, watches them win a national championship from the sideline. Of course, he still is part of that 24 championship team, but he never got to take the field that season. Now the year is 2015. He's finally healthy again. But now the QB room is absolutely stacked. The 2nd string in JT Barrett led the Buckeyes to a 12-1 regular season, and the 3rd string quarterback just beat Alabama and Oregon in the postseason to win a national championship with the Buckeyes. The team just won it all. Everything has changed in this quarterback room. That's when Braxton Miller makes the biggest decision of his career. Braxton, who has all these accolades and awards, and has been one of the best quarterbacks in college football for 3 years now, switches his position from quarterback to wide receiver in his senior season. That takes real humility. He was the face of the program for 4 years, and now he's learning a completely new position late in his college career. But right away, you see flashes. Season opener, his first time ever playing wide receiver. 3 catches, 79 yards and a touchdown, 5 carries, 61 yards and a touchdown, and the spin move. For a moment, it felt like this was about to be special, but the reality is he's only had 1 year at receiver. Ohio State wasn't throwing the ball 40 times a game. He was still learning a position in real time. The flashes were there, but the numbers just weren't huge. Braxton Miller finished third in receiving yards for the Buckeyes that year. He had 26 catches, 341 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He also did chip in 42 carries for 260 yards and an extra touchdown on the ground, which he does go ahead and enter the NFL draft. The Houston Texans take a swing at him and draft him in the 3rd round in 2016, which is a really solid draft position for someone who only played 1 year at receiver. But Houston saw the athleticism and the potential that he could be. But of course, the NFL is tough on projects. He's a learning receiver at the highest level while competing against guys who's played the position their entire lives. Unfortunately, he never really gets a long runway to develop. 2 seasons in Houston with limited production, and that was pretty much it. Then the cycle of practice squads, short stints, releases, Eagles, Browns, Panthers. By 2019, his NFL career was basically over. This was not because Braxton wasn't talented or couldn't play, but because the timing didn't work, and he never got the years needed to fully grow into that new role. After his NFL playing days were over, Braxton went back home and started building something new. Youth camps, training programs, and eventually his own sports academy. He still impacted the game, just in a different way. So when people ask, what happened to Braxton Miller? In reality, it's a little bit of a mix of everything. He helped rebuild Ohio State after sanctions, won 24 straight games, then got hurt at the worst possible time. Watch his team win a title without him, switch positions late, enter the NFL still learning. Sometimes it's not just about talent, sometimes the timeline just gets thrown off. But at Ohio State, Braxton Miller was electric. One of the most important players of that era and one of the biggest reasons that program got back to greatness. And that spin move, that's going to live forever. If you were watching back then, you already know how different he was. So I gotta ask, do you think things would turn out differently if Braxton never gets hurt in 2014? Let me know in the comments. But if you guys did enjoy this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.